Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today my presentation topic is complexometric and indicator which is used in the complexometric. This is my analytical presentation. So here is the introduction. Let's start with the introduction. What is the meaning of my presentation? Main things. In analytical chemistry, complexometric. Uh, sorry. Okay. In analytical chemistry, complexometric indicators are used in the complexometric titration to indicate the exact moment when all the metals ion in the solution are sequenced by the chelating agent. Most usually EDTA, such as indicators are called monochromic indicators. What is a complexometric titration? So I'm telling you to what is the meaning of the main complexometric titration means. We should all know that when we are going to the labs, so we all know that what is the titration, how we'll do the titrations. So here's the main things: complexometric titration. Sometimes chelatometry is the form of volumetric analysis in which the formation of a color complex is used to indicate the endpoint of the titration. Titration is one of the most common used in the laboratory, which is determine the unknown concentration of an analyte that has been identified. It is a method used in the quantitative chemical analysis, which I also used and performed in the like previous semester. It is used to sometimes term as a volumetric analysis as a measurement of volume play vital role. Here is a reagent is used as a standard solution and they are called titrant. Titrant volume is defined as the volume of a titrant that is the react complexometric titration is used in the detection of the mixture of metal ion present in the solutions. When each drop of titrant is added, the reaction reaches an equilibrium state swiftly. There would be no chance for any interfering situations. The equilibrium point can be defined very accurately using a complexometric titration EDTA used as a titrant and it is pretty much as well established. So here is the indicators. Indicators, spermagite and Irochrome, black tea, EBT, which we pronounce EBT, are such as indicators that change from blue to pink when they complex with the calcium or magnesium. The endpoint of the complexometric, I'm showing also this is these all things when the color change in the solution titration when doing while doing the titration when the color is being white, then what is the endpoint you will see on the coming video. So the endpoint for complexity ADT titration using either Calmagite or ABT as the indicator is detected and the color change being from the blue. To carry out the metal cations, titration using EDTA is the most necessary. मेरा mute तो नहीं है. Okay. It's almost always necessary to use the complexometric indicators to determine when the endpoint has been reached. Home indicators are organic dyes such as fast, sulfone black, uh, aerochrome black T, aerochrome red B, pattern reader, and murexide. Color change shows that the indicator has been displayed usually by the EDTA from the metal cation in the solution when the endpoint has reached such the indicator either the megamplex where the endpoint. I also did this in the previous semester. The endpoint detection is the complexometric detection can be done by the two methods. Here's the two methods which I'm telling you. Number one is the visual method, and number two is the instrumental method. So, what is the visual method? One of the most common methods to determine the endpoint, owing the simplicity, least cost, and accuracy. For instance, some visual method used to determine the endpoint of the complexometric titration. Metachromic or PM indicators, pH indicator, redox indicator. Number two, what is the instrumental method? So instrumental method used to determine the endpoint of not free from the limitation, including the accuracy or human visual errors. Some instrumental techniques used in endpoint determination, photometry, potentiometry, and malicious method. What is the EDT complexometry titration? Let me tell you what is the EDTA. I'm saying the EDTA. Here is for a total proper description. I'll tell you. EDTA is a ethyl diamine tetrax. ethyl, sorry, ethyl diamine tetracid is a complexometry indicator consists of two amino acid and four carboxyl group called a Lewis base, which already studied in the previous class, the 12 and metric. It is a hexadentate ligand because of the competence to denote six pair of lone pair electrons due to the formation of the covalent bond. Even the seventh small of the small ion would be the leader. Distinct change in the color. These lead to the formation of the weak complex. Complexing agents are less soluble in water, most of them free acid. They are using the volumetric solution before using them. They are converted into sodium salts and flexible in the water. Feasible in the water. Since they are characterized with this less solubility in water, they are used in a titration. Sometimes simple titration method are used to determine the simple metal ion present in the water, but determine the exact number of the metal ions present in the complex titration is used to conduct using EDTM. EDTM is the most commonly available as disodium salt with a two ionized carboxyl group from salts each of two nitrogen and of each of the four carboxyl contain a pair of unchained electron capable of complexing with the metal ion. Thus, ATTA contains the six complexometry. Here is the TDA presented by the H4Y. There you can see the diagram. Indicator for the TDA titrations. I will tell you what is the titration indicators used in to carry out metal cations titration using EDTA. It is almost necessary to use a complexometric tire indicator to determine when the endpoint has reached. Common indicator are organic dyes such as using chrome black, sulfone black, and chrome red B, phantom reader, and Virixide. Here is we will take example Ricron black EBD. It's the behavior of weak and their conjugate bases have different colors where the H2O plus H2NL is a red when it's converted to the HNN2 then blue and I plus H3 it will convert it to the endpoint will blue. So EDT titration techniques. Here's some techniques I will tell you. Direct titration, back titration, displacement titration, and indirect titrations. First, we will discuss the direct titrations. It is the simplest and most convenient method in which the standard solution of EDTA is slowly added to the metal ion solution till the endpoint achieved. What is the back titration? We should all know the back titration. It is a titration techniques. We should also know what is a back titration and displacement. So black titration is known as access standard solution. EDTA is added solution containing the analyte. It is often used to species of ions when they react to the slowly EDTA. Displacement titration for the metal I do not have the good indicator. A second titration method is the displacement titration. Here is an analyte with the excess second metal bound to EDTM. The analyte ions displacement the second metal from the EDTA complex and the second metal titrate with the EDTA. What is the indirect titration? Method has been developed by the stepwise titration barium astronome with EDTA based on the precipitation of the element sulfate from the homogeneous solution. Barium is then selectively replaced from the EDTA complex and precipitate and the sulfate with the excess of the magnesium sulfate solution. Reaction with the complexometric titration. Here is the black T, which I also tell you in the back slide. So this is the second reaction with the zinc and magnesium, where the excess and causes a red to blue color change in the neutral pH. In theory, any complexation reaction can be used as a volumetric technique. We provide that. Number one, the reaction which is equilibrium rapidly after each portion titrant is added, interfering solution to not arise. For instance, stepwise formation several steps complexes the metal line with the titrant, resulting in the presence of the more complex solution during the titration process. A complexity indicator is locating a equivalent point in a fair accuracy is available. What are the indicators used in complexity titration? There are common indicators for the complexity titration, acromite, black tea, talagamite, arcezano, xylo orange. To carry out the metal cation titration using the EDTA, it is the most always necessary to use a complexometer indicator to determine when the endpoint has been reached. Common indicator are organic dyes such as the sulfur, black tea, chromatic, and trichromatic, panthenol, and muriate. I also already had told you in the previous slide. Complexometric titration. Here's some titration complexometric ligands. Variety substances that have the pair of unshared electrons, example, and nitrogen, oxygen, and sulfur, are the some atoms capable to certify the coordination number of the metal cations. Mono, monodinate ligands. Ligands that contain only the atom that can be attached. Central metal, NH3, and chlorine. Cl. Verdinate ligands. Ligand get contain two atoms. Group can be attached to the central stimuli. Ethyl diamine. Chelating agent and organic agent. What is a chelating agent? First, this is a very interesting topic. I like it so much. Chelating agent is the agent that had two or more groups capable of complexing with a metal. A negatively charged chelate result is called chelating agent. The complex called chelate. The chelating is a ligand. Titration with the chelating agents are the chromatic titration. Perhaps the most important particle of the complexometric titration, for example, DTA and ethyl diamine tetraacid acid. Gelatin effect is a complex the one of the formed by the bitrate and the multi-denate ligand is a more stable than the corresponding complex or monodenate ligand. The ligand, sorry. The greater number of the point that attachment of the ligand to the metal ions, the greater the stability of the complex. This is known as a gelatin effect. For example, complexes form the nickel 1 I1 with ions, the monodenate NH2 molecule, binary ethyl diamine 1 to ethyl diamine aminoethane, and the hexadenate ligand pentane. There is a formula and overall stability constant of the value of the ammonia complex at 3 1 by 108, which is increased by the factor about is 101 for the complex of ligand. By number B is approximately 10 times greater than the third complex. The Chelet effect, the drop effect. Contrary to the steric effect, the steric inhibition of the formation of ordering the presence of the large group and attach or the closer proximity the donor atoms. Application of the complexometric titration, actually the hardness due to the calcium and magnesium solvent to order determined together in the titration. The total calcium magnesium is trial with the AGT solution using the acron black tea and indicator. Here is the acron black tea indicators. When the wine red, here is ethyl diamine, acetic acid, when they act and colorless into the blue. The endpoint we will after the titration, they will get the endpoint is the blue. Masking and demasking agent. Masking is a reagent that protects the some components of the analyte from the reaction with the EDTA. Masking used to prevent one element from interfering in the analysis of another element. Demasking agent is the release of the metal ion from masking agent. There is an example of magnesium and NN2. There's a complex and MNGN. And number second example I considered in the previous slide. Conclusion. Complexometric titration is a volumetric titration through the when the endpoint can be determined stabilities of metal indicators. A metal titrant complex buffer solution, which you also know that what is a buffer solution. Solution also do in our labs. Solution is it in the university labs. Solution is to change pH and the complexity of the masking, demasking, the pH control, how individual components of complex mixture of metal ion can be analyzed the EDTA metal. So here's a video which I'm how we titration. I know it. And okay, that's all I should, go color light and methyl orange. Corporate presentation should look being the so let's see the next one. Three. Therefore, it. Let's see what is the end result. It's pretty. I think done. Yes. No. Yes. This is the point. Yes. This is my references. And thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.